You cannot expect all people to sit down in places alone and not engage in life. There is a level of spirituality that we understand, the 5 daily prayers, waking up for morning prayer, going to the mosque, maybe 1 hour before, making qiyam al-layl, fasting Mondays and Thursdays, making prayers all day long, like when stepping out from the house or getting into your car. There are certain prayers or dua, we call it supplications, that you can bring with you all day long. Anything beyond that, in a way that will demonstrate for you to be unfunctional in life. Let me give you an example to finish with that, your answer. The person was doing i'tikaf. I'tikaf is a term given to someone who would devote like 1 day or 1 week to sit in the mosque, do nothing but pray and so on. So when he was in his 1 week or 1 day, someone called for help to bring the stuff on the back of his mule or donkey or whatever it was. Now, in accordance to the understanding of i'tikaf, you should not step out from the mosque. You just stay in there. But he did step out. And when he was asked, why did you do that? He said, to help my brother put his stuff on the back of his mule is better than staying for 40 days inside the mosque, praying all night long and fasting all day long. Islam weighs your deeds by how much benefit you can bring to people around you. This is way more rewardable than the benefit that you bring to yourself only. You should be generous, not in bringing rewards to yourself, but helping others around you. And when the Prophet was asked once, what is the best type of deed I can do to go to heaven? He said, to print a smile on a person who is in need, to help him, to go and make him feel happy that you have served him. So that is the spirituality in our understanding. Another question? Yes, in the back.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear.
You said the first question you did is just acquiring more knowledge, and I admit I'm guilty of referencing Google through things, and I'll go to a site and I'll get one opinion and I'll go another, and I'll get another opinion. What would you suggest? What do you think is the best way to filter through all the information that exists out there?
I'm not saying everything is on the internet is wrong. Sometimes I use email Google myself. But if you don't have the good background, you'll be confused. Because you don't know how to evaluate things and what is a trusted source from what is. I do believe really in the social engagement in your own community, with your own local mosque, with the imam that leads your community, the trusted one who is legitimate in this. You need this personal, this social approach. You strengthen the relationship, it puts trust in the relationship, and then you seek the knowledge in that. It doesn't mean that you should not seek some other sources of info, but be aware not to be a victim of confusion that will lead you nowhere. And this is a problem of the technology, actually. Knowledge now is accessible, not just for Muslims. I mean, every religion now are complaining about the same thing. That, and in Islam we don't have clergy. So it's not like Imam Kifah told you do this and that's it. Imam Kifah is just a person of knowledge who would present a point of view that could be relevant to your case or not. So you're not following it because it came from a divine person. You're following the text if it makes relation to your case or not. Someone else with the same knowledge or less or more could relate to it in a better or a different dimension. So we have to be open-minded. The Prophet said, wisdom is something a Muslim should always seek wherever it comes from. It is not limited even to Muslims. You could hear something from non-Muslims that we can benefit from, and that should be no problem. So next to whatever you are being exposed to, always have a secure person that you trust in his knowledge, that you can pick up the phone and say, Imam, and get their point of view. And I'll be, more than glad to help anyone if they need anything. Yes, ma'am.
Where did the term holy war come from? Because jihad means holy war, right?
No, it does not mean holy war. That's what I said. Jihad comes from the verb jahada, which means to strive or put effort.
Okay.
So for me now to sit down and talk, this is jihad.
Okay.
Putting effort to explain Islam. To go get a job and put food on the table, that is jihad. To fight in a war in defense of Islam, that is jihad. So the term itself is to put effort to what is righteous. Back to the war in Islam, just war and unfair war, that if you are fighting to defend yourself or defending a righteous cause. Let me give you an example. Right after September 11, like by 2 years, I was visited by a group of 16 journalists from Washington Times to Toronto Times to, Tribune, all over. And they were doing some sort of a survey or like project about how is the media portraying Islam and Muslims and how is that affecting them. So they posed the question like, these people who came and committed this terrorist act, on 9/11, wasn't that Islam itself advocated for that to go and kill people and so on? And my answer was to differentiate between what is a rightful war and an evil one, or unfair or unjust one. I said, well, we went and we invaded Iraq and Afghanistan. What's the reason? Well, the answer was from them, well, there was a dictator and there was no democracy and there was aggression and we had to change that. We said, well, exactly, Muslims were in the same shoes. When they were in power and they saw tyrants and aggression people, they dealt with it the same way we are dealing with it as a US government now. And this is now we can dispute how much Muslims did a good job or not, but I'm talking about the theory. And we can dispute if George Bush was right in taking us into Iraq or not, but I'm talking about theory. I don't disagree that if someone is in power and he represents a value, that he should make sure this value is implemented if it was ethical, moral, and so perspective. So there is no jihad, holy war, that I am in the business of fighting everyone else. There is no such thing like that in Islam. And I gave the case that if that was the case, how do you explain that only 12% of land that is now Muslim is because of engagement in war. 80% of Muslim land is all by explaining Islam to others. Indonesia alone is like 300 some million Muslims. If you bring all the Arab countries together, they don't make 300 million. And there was no war spot over there, or Malaysia, or all these. It was only merchant Muslims going and promoting Islam. So we believe that wars were fought in Islam because either in self-defense or because they engaged in a righteous moral responsibility towards some tyrants or aggressors that were abusing their own people. That's the way we see it. One more question and the 2 minutes left before we take the prayer. Yes.
I'm not sure if you discussed this before I came in because I was a little late, but what would you say to people who are against the community center in New York?
Against what?
Who are against the building of the community center in New York?
Oh, may God be with them. I am in favor of building the mosque because it's my right as a citizen. And if they tell me I should not do it, they are telling me you belong to the terrorists, and I will not accept that. Here. If they are telling me you should not build it, they are telling me I am a terrorist, and I will not tolerate that. I am a citizen. I pay my taxes. The Constitution protects my rights. I have the right to build a mosque wherever I want, as long as it's okay in the, whatever accordance and that. But for people to tell me not to do it because some people who are Muslims did something bad, and by that they are just telling me you belong to those terrorists. Islam did not attack America on 9/11. 19 terrorists did, and we need to clarify that very clearly. Thank you very much.